Hey guys, this is Chandra, and I'm going to attempt a voiceover, so I have no idea what I'm doing. I am going to show you how I did the Kraftex spine on this and the cover. So you can see here, I'm playing with the gaps on it. I used score tape to put it together, and while the spine stayed together, the outside cover didn't really, so I'm going to use wet glue this time. That's Aleene's Turbo Tacky. What I'm doing now is I'm just measuring the Kraftex. I get my Kraftex on a bolt. My husband bought it on Amazon for me for Christmas. I got the black, and he got me black roll, and then he got me the bolt of the Kraft since I use Kraft more often. So what I did was I wanted a piece to attach my binding to my spine. So what I'm doing now is just measuring this piece to make sure that it's bigger than my actual spine. So it has like an inch on each side to hang over to the covers. Here I'm showing you the binding strips that I created. These are just 1 inch by 8 inches folded in half. So it creates a 1/2 inch gusset on these pages. So all I'm doing is sticking it in my scoreboard and just scoring them all in half. So I'm scoring at 1/2 inch. Again, these are 1 by 8, and those are going to be the binding of the album here. So I'm just showing you here the gussets. If you want a bigger gusset, you can use your binding strip, make it bigger, or if you want like a 1/4 inch gusset, you can make it like 3/4 inch and then still score it at 1/2 inch so that your gussets are only 1/4 inch. Folding the Kraftex is a little more difficult than folding, like, say, Stampin' Up! Cardstock. I think Stampin' Up! Cardstock is the thickest cardstock I've ever used. So it's a little bit trickier than that, but it's still not hard. So first what I did was I folded it to make sure it was straight, and then I burnished it with my scoring tool there, my bone folder. And I just wanted to make sure that these were all straight. You just don't want a crooked fold, because then when you line them up next to each other to create the binding, it will be crooked. Now here I am putting together the covers, and you know, this is the Good Day Sunshine mini album, so my covers are 8.5 by 8.5, and the spine is 3 1/4 inches wide by 8.5 tall. So what I did was I cut a piece of Kraftex. I'm just going to measure it here for you. I cut a piece that measured, it's about 8.5 by 10. So I still had a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch to wrap around the top and the bottom. So here I'm using my Aleene's Turbo Tacky glue, and I'm just gluing down my spine, which again is 3 1/4 by 8.5. So I'm just using a lot of glue on this. I don't know that you need that much glue, but what the heck, right? It's just glue. So I'm going to center that on this piece of Kraftex, and I'm going to make sure I leave at least a 1/2 inch on the top and the bottom so that I can wrap the spine with the outside of the paper. And this is going to be on the outside of the album. So you just kind of want to eyeball it, center it. If you're real anal about measurements, you can certainly find the center of it and pinpoint it out and do all that fancy stuff, but I didn't really care. You're not going to see the front and the back at the same time anyway, so you're not going to tell that they're different. Now I'm just putting glue on the actual cover, and I'm just gluing where the Kraftex is. And I do want to make sure that I get the edge of this really well. I'm using my shim here that I made just by putting 2 pieces of chipboard together. That's the thickness I like to have my covers apart, so that they bend well. They open and close well with just having 2 pieces of chipboard thickness. Now I'm just making sure that it's level top and bottom. I'm doing the exact same thing with the other cover. Just putting glue, making sure it's on the sides. I kind of want the glue to seep out of the side a little bit, and then you can wipe it off your Kraftex with a baby wipe. Since the Kraftex is like fabric, you can wash it and get it wet and stuff, and it won't affect it. It will make it wrinkly, but the little bit of moisture from the baby wipe on this is not going to matter. So I want to make sure that this Kraftex doesn't come off the cover like it did on my other one where I just used score tape. This headset's really weird. It's my son's Xbox headset. I can hear like a buzzing noise in my ear, but I can't hear myself talk, so I don't know if I'm loud or what. Now I'm just scoring or breaking the fibers down. I am using some score tape to attach it, but I'm also using some glue here just because I wanted an immediate stick. But I also don't want it to come up. I'm going to burnish that really well as well at some point. And this is just making the covers, and this is how I attach the Kraftex to the outside of the album. So if your album is bigger, your spine is bigger, you just change the measurements of the Kraftex. Basically, you want it to be, you want it to cover your spine, but then you want it to be 1 to 3 inches outside of it. Here I'm just checking to make sure that there is enough glue. I don't want to have little bubbles coming up or bubbling off or, I don't know, pulling off, I guess. So I just lifted it up a bit and put more glue there. Now this is the sheet on the inside that I'm actually going to use to attach the hinges to. So this sheet I have, it measures 6 1/4 by 8 1/4. So I just centered it top to bottom. So there's a 1/4 inch from the bottom and a 1/4 inch from the top. And here I am trying to find the center just because I want to be able to draw lines to start my binding hinge on so that I started out at a straight line when I placed it down the first time and it's not crooked on there. So then what I'm going to do is, instead of making a big pin mark, even on the back of it, if I make the pin mark, I won't be able to see if I'm going straight or not. So what I eventually end up doing is just scoring it down on one side so that I can see the score mark so that I could line it up. So that's all I'm doing here, is I'm scoring and folding on each side. So that's 3 1/4 inches in between there, so I know where my spines go. Now on my spines, I should have had, I don't use typically 1/2 inch score tape. I usually just buy that 1/4 inch. So what you want to do is to be sure that you completely cover that spine, that hinge. You want to completely cover it with the score tape on the one side that you're going to be applying down. Now the other side that is going to stick in your pages, one sheet on each side, is perfectly fine. And here you see me going back and putting another piece of score tape in on the one side that's going to stick down to the actual Kraftex piece. So when you're applying your score tape on these hinges, you want one side of the hinge completely covered with score tape. And then on the other side, you just want one side covered with score tape, just one side of that hinge. And that's the side that's going to be sticking into your page to make your album. So I'm just showing you here now, you want to angle your hinges on the side that's going to be stuck into your pages. You want to miter the corners on that side only. You don't want to miter the corners on the flap that's going to be stuck down to your hinge, because you want those to remain straight so that you can line it up easier on your hinge. And I was so irritated when I got done recording this video. I went to go edit it and there was no sound, and I looked and I was like, oh my gosh, really? Why would I even record with the mute button on? I mean, there's no reason for me to do that. I don't even do it when I do music. When I edit it, I just shut off the volume of the video. I don't get it. Here I am lining out my hinge to that score mark that I made to make sure that my hinge is straight, and I'm burnishing it down. Now the next hinge, I'm just going to butt it up right next to the first hinge that I put down, making sure that it's in the same mark. It's got the same amount of distance between the top and the bottom. Since these hinges are 8 and the page, not page, but the Kraftex is 8 1/4, there's going to be about an eighth of an inch on the top and the bottom. I just want to make sure that all my pages are straight across. So I'm just taking the tape backing off the one side that is completely covered on the 1/2 inch there. And I just flipped it around so that I could see it better. I was showing one of my friends from work a video, and she's like, you know, if you're going to be making videos, you probably should have your nails done. And I'm like, do you know how hard it is to make an album or to use paper without your fingernail polish rubbing off on your albums or your paper? It drives me nuts. I used to pay extra to get a gel top coating. Even those gel comes off. I don't know. So I just stopped getting them done in the winter. I usually get them done in the summer only. Don't ask me why. I think I'm too lazy to go out in the cold. So now I am like going to lather the back of this with glue, I believe, and score tape. And for some reason my score tape keeps on breaking. I don't know what the deal is. But I want to make sure that this is glued down very well. So here I'm using the Aleene's Turbo Tacky glue again, and I'm using some score tape just to hold it down until the glue dries. And then I end up using bullnose clips or some kind of, those little red clips that I use. I got them at the Dollar Tree, and then they are perfect for mini album. I guess I could see it where you would need them out in the garage, but they seem too small to use them for mechanical use, but that's just my opinion. My dad's a woodworker, so I'm used to seeing big old clips, not these little ones. But they worked perfect for scrapbooking, so, you know, Dollar Tree is where I got them. So I'm just centering this on the spine piece there, and I'm making sure to burnish in between all of the hinges so that the glue sticks down on the cover. I want that glue to be everywhere, and I want it to dry completely. So when I started to fold it, I noticed the paper started to buckle a little bit, which, you know, if you glue anything straight down and then you fold it, it is going to buckle just because of the difference in the dimension that you're covering. So I opened up my book and I just flattened it out with my bone folder. I just pressed the air out of it and made sure that it was flush. So all I did there was smash it out, and again, there's some buckling there, so I wanted to make sure that I pressed it all down, and I believe now is where I get I get the little clips out, and I don't know what's wrong with the video, but I start clipping down the Kraftex so that it dries completely on there. Having some technical difficulties, it looks like. I don't know what the deal is. But anyway, I was just putting on clips there on the gusset, and I'm just burnishing inside, again, just really well everywhere that I can see. Needs burnishing, needs a clip. I'm putting a clip there, and I took the clip off probably about 10 minutes after